Hello, we're here to talk about the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy today. I have some controversial things to say about it, but we'll get to that eventually. So let's start with Batman Begins, 2005. I think it's a solid film. I wouldn't say it's a great film because I do feel like it's a bit slow paced, which you're gonna hear me say again later. I think the pace of it is a bit slow. I think the build up to him finally being Batman is good. I like the training with Liam Neeson, who is, let me pronounce this right. What? Ducard? Who the fuck is Ducard? Isn't it Ra Al Ghul? But okay. But yeah, I think it's obviously at this point the trilogy is iconic, right? It was the Batman for a long period of time. It was basically the 2000s Batman until we got Batman v Superman. So it's interesting. I do think the movie suffers from pacing a lot. I think the movie also suffers from just being too. It's almost feels like it's just being cinematic half the time without anything really happening, which I don't like as much. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I think Liam Neeson does a good job. I think Christian Bale does a good job. I think Gary Oldman does a good job. So overall, it's a good movie. I think the Scarecrow character wasn't fleshed out enough. I think we didn't get to see more of Killian Murphy's acting chops, which is unfortunate. And I really like the Scarecrow as a character in general. If you have played the games, the Scarecrow is like a very vital character in those. So it kind of felt like he wasn't as important because it's hard to do a Batman origin movie and also have it also have a good villain in it. So I think unlike the other two films which precede Batman Begins, which have really iconic villains, I think unfortunately the Scarecrow just is not a good villain or a good enough villain in this movie where you really remember. Like, I personally have heard, before I even watched these films, I heard so much about The Dark Knight because of Heath Ledger and, The Dark Knight Rises because of Tom Hardy. And I just didn't know what to expect from Batman Begins because it seems like no one talks about Batman Begins. So yeah, it's an okay movie. I wouldn't say it's really good and it's underrated. It's clearly not underrated. A lot of people watch these films. But if I had to give it a rating, I would give it a 3. I don't think it's a decent film, I would say. I would not recommend this film to someone who wants to get into Batman, and I would be like, you know what? Like, I would make them watch this film because the film which is the sequel to this film is arguably one of the greatest performances of Batman ever. And it's not even Batman, the character, whose performance is good. But I wouldn't really say, oh yeah, Batman Begins is where you should start. Like, if you want to get into the character, I wouldn't say it's the best movie to get into the Batman character. And overall, even ignoring all of that, I think it's just a pretty mediocre film. I'm already gonna be getting death threats, I'm pretty sure. So let's move on to something we all universally agree, The Dark Knight. Now, this movie is good, and I'll tell you it's better than Batman Begins, and I'm already going to tell you how much I rate it. It's 4 stars out of 5, and a whole star is because of one actor in Heath Ledger. What a fantastic performance! I mean, I feel like talking about this as if no one's ever heard it is stupid because I feel like anyone who's even remotely watches movies for fun has heard of Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight. It is considered one of the greatest portrayals of Joker ever. It is considered one of the greatest performances ever. Received a posthumous Oscar, rightfully so. Rest in peace. And yeah, it's actually an incredible performance. I have not seen Joker, funnily enough. So when I do, I will watch the movie. So for me, really, this is the only Joker performance I have seen. So I don't really have anything to compare it to. So it's going to be very, very hard for it to be even close, if I'm being honest, if it does happen. Although Joaquin Phoenix did win an Oscar for his portrayal. So I assume he did a good job. Everyone was ravishing over how good he did, and finally someone lived up to, Heath Ledger's performance. But honestly, all in all, the movie in itself is also pretty good. I think the opening bank scene is iconic. It's just a really well made scene in general. I think this movie has some of the most iconic lines ever. like lines which I didn't even know were from this movie are from this movie, and it's just fantastic. Two Face is in this movie, which I really like. And yeah, this is just a overall good film. It is not a 4.5 or a 5. It's not like one of those films where objectively it's the best, but I don't like it. It's still lacking. Like, I believe Maggie Gyllenhaal's character is just doesn't do it for me. And I think Batman gets overshadowed very heavily in this film. And that's fine because that's what makes the movie good, but it also makes the movie bad because the movie is called The Dark Knight. Uh, you know, so yeah, I think overall it is the strongest, Christopher Nolan Batman film. And then we get into The Dark Knight Rises. Now, this is going to be very controversial, even more so than Batman Begins. I actually think this is a terrible film. And let me explain. I think it is horribly paced. I think it just doesn't interest me in the slightest. I don't know what happened with this film. I don't know why. I just don't like it. I think it's worse than Batman Begins. I think Tom Hardy does an incredible job of playing Bane. I think Bane is a good character. It's the representation of Bane in this film is pretty nice. I really like it. But I think Christian Bale's performance as Batman in this film just isn't as good as the other two films. Anne Hathaway portrays Catwoman, and I kid you not, I cannot tell you. I'm trying to remember. I cannot remember a single thing Catwoman does in this film, which was detrimental to the plot. It's just there. The character's just there, and yeah, I believe like it's a movie which tries to do a lot but doesn't do it well. I feel it just keeps going on, and it just feels like a okay conclusion to a pretty decent trilogy. Like, I don't know, it's just a film which I really don't like, and I'm aware this is actually controversial because people really enjoy this film. But for me, I think the controversial part is me telling Batman Begins is better than The Dark Knight Rises. But yeah, I don't like it throughout. I think the fighting also feels the scene where he breaks his back is fantastic, but then the climax scene is very lame. The fight seems lame. It just literally feels like two dudes fighting in a costume, and it just doesn't feel impactful. The end of that supposed Robin, it just feels whatever. uh, I don't know. It feels like it had a lot of interesting things going for it, but it tried to do all of them in one movie, which it didn't have to. And I think I mentioned this in one of my other reviews, where like the more bloated you try to make your characters and cast, the less impactful the movie feels. And I think this movie suffers from that drastically. So, yeah, if I had to rate it, I'm giving it a 2 out of 5, and there's going to be Death Threats number 2. But it's fine. I think it's been too many years for anyone to actually have strong passion for these movies, except The Dark Knight, which I would argue, yeah, if you say A Dark Knight is a perfect movie, I wouldn't agree. But I would understand why you said so, because it can feel like it. And that's what I say about The Dark Knight. It feels like it's a perfect movie, but it really isn't. And I feel like a lot of people are blinded by nostalgia and hype, right? But overall, a decent trilogy. Good if you're into Batman. Good if you want to get into Batman. Not the first film alone, but like the overall film is good to understand the notes of different characters. I think the Joker, if you want to get into the character of Joker, it's fantastic. You want to get into the character of Bane, it's fantastic. Scarecrow, not so much. But overall, decent trilogy is not the best all across the board, but it's also not terrible all across the board. So yeah, that's all I had to say about the Nolan films. I've been wanting to make this video for a while, but I never really got around to it because I was like, why would I be talking about movies which I would assume everyone has watched? But anyway, let me know what you guys think about these movies. Which one is your favorite, and why is it The Dark Knight? And if it's not The Dark Knight, why is that your favorite? And yeah, let me know what you liked about all the films. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.